Okay.
You want to do our intro today?
Oh, I can.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I stressed.
Topical.
Yeah, so topical. I was trying. This is I do the ADHD. I was trying to mirror my camera so you could read it correctly, but I don't know how to do that.
Maybe we just flip it when we're like editing it.
Okay, I'll try to figure that out.
Yeah. Maybe it will still be backwards, but worth a shot.
Can you imagine? Okay. All right. Oh boy. I see. I like
you can
yours.
see
You can
seasons.
seasons. You can't. I have to stand also for everything to be in frame.
Yeah. Let's do a real quick.
Jingle all the way. This is going on TikTok.
This is what we're gonna post.
10 out of 10 content right there.
Christmas titties, everybody.
Amen.
It's about 4 people right now, but hey,
Hey.
everybody.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Hi, I'm Arlana. This is Emily. This is another episode of Media Mayhem, and this is our holiday special. This will probably be our last upload of 2025. 2026, we'll see what happens. We still kind of have to figure that out, but I think this episode's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes. 2026, we have so many things cooking, but we'll see what gets done first.
We'll see what actually comes out of the oven.
Yeah, exactly. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if this will end up being a tradition, but it would be kind of funny if it did because we're going to talk about Hallmark movies. In I think a very love-hate way. Because I actually don't like I love the Hallmark movie lore, but I actually don't watch all that many of them because I don't have cable.
I'm going to be so honest. I don't think I've ever seen one.
This was your idea.
No, I love them. I love them as a concept. I love them as, like, you can basically, like, I can predict, like, five plot points, and I'll name, like, every single Hallmark movie. Okay, I lied to you.
Not you having the pod be the reveal to me that you've never actually watched these fucking
I'm gonna be so honest with you. I just lied to you a little bit. I recently watched them. Mostly because Taylor, during the holidays, that is all that is played at her grandparents' house. So, by proxy, I will be at her house, her grandparents' house, and it will hit me. I'm not, like, sitting down, like, actively watching this movie.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, we're in a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, I think that's actually more people's experience, or at least the gateway into Hallmark than not. I think like Hallmark osmosis through like elderly or just white family members is usually how it starts.
Yeah, that older generation really, that's their bread and butter right there.
I actually think if it does become a tradition, because I wanted to talk about Lifetime movies, and then I was like, that's its own episode. Like, I was going to talk about, like, how, like, Lifetime and Hallmark are, like, a yin and yang of, like, a woman's market of movie making, but then I was like, no, there's just too much to be said about Lifetime
We'll do Hallmark.
on its own. Let's just focus on the Hallmark of it all, because there's so much to be said, even though neither of us really watch them. I'm actively realizing this maybe wasn't the best thing for us.
No, I'm so excited because we are an objective like pair, right? We can look at these movies and see why they're loved so much by a very specific population, but we can also see the problem with these movies. And I think I was doing some brief research, and a quote I saw of a Hallmark movie. It's a pretty simple formula. A heaping of small town sweethearts, a spoonful of predictable plots, several splashes of festive sweaters, and a sprinkle of family trauma. And that's a Hallmark. And that's a Hallmark movie. End quote.
Yeah. That's the most correct take. I think the only thing they're missing is like at one point, maybe it's not all of them. We're not the people to know. I think at one point or another, someone's going to monologue at their partner, and it's going to be some kind of, it's going to be considered a two-way conversation, even though the other person just kind of like sighs. Like there's going to be at least one scene in probably all of them where it's just one character monologuing at the other one, and then they decide to give their whole life away to be with this person.
I think the best also part of Hallmark movies are how memeable they are, and how like last year, this is kind of funny. Last year was my first time getting a real Christmas tree. I've always done the plastic kind of thing. So last year it was my first time going to an actual like Christmas tree farm, cutting it down, doing the whole shebang. Yeah. And the entire time it was me, my parents, and Taylor. The entire time we were just like acting like we were in a Hallmark movie. And it was the funniest thing because like it first of all, it's the perfect setting because all Hallmark movies are stuck in that Christmas time period.
Yeah, apparently not all of them, I learned in my brief research, but all of the ones I can think of and immediately say that's Christmas. A Hallmark movie are like all at specifically a Christmas farm, like not even just all Christmas.
I guess it's around Christmas time, usually in a very small town. Christmas is about to happen. It is the holiday that is near.
Yeah, so that's okay. So I want to know more about specifically any isms that you guys adopted to pretend you were in a Hallmark movie. Like, was someone looking only for hot chocolate?
Yes. It was Taylor. Taylor was asking about hot chocolate all the time. My dad kept...
Did your parents pretend like they hadn't seen each other in 35 years and were high school sweethearts but only dated for 4 days? And then your mom pretended like she was from a big city and then just decided to drop everything she knew and loved for him when she saw him?
Because he works at the Christmas tree farm, and that's his seasonal work, and he just loves it so much.
She saw him with an axe and said, "That's the love of my life. My life has just started again."
We didn't do that one, but we did pretend that our car broke down, and we ended up at the Christmas tree farm.
So, like, you pretended like it was just happenstance that you ended up there. You're like, what do we do with this whimsy?
What do we do? Like, we're here. We might as well embrace the spirit.
That's so iconic. Yeah, honestly, correct. Yeah, I actually, so, like, my mom is allergic to pine. So, like, I only really grew up with the fake ones. And, like, we do have a fake one currently because we had, like, a few years, because Lydia's family only ever did real trees. Like, for a few years, we did the real tree look. Loved it. Just when we moved, across the country, we're like, let's just do a fake tree instead of, like, bringing all that extra shit. But I think eventually we'll get back into the real tree one because there is something very, like, though I'm shitting on it, there is a very whimsical, like, wholesome vibe of like having like a real tree and like the sniffing pine when you like walk by.
Oh, it's so nice. Yeah, so like I was the same way. So like I had the fake trees all my life, but Taylor had the real tree. She was real tree all the time. So she finally was like, why don't we just get one? And I was just like, you're so correct.
Yeah, why not? It's also very iconic that we both like are the part of our pairing who didn't have the real tree.
Yeah.
Like
us.
Oh my god, twinsies.
Twinsies.
Yeah, okay. So just to circle back to the hallmark of it all. Apparently they also do them around like Valentine's Day and like other holidays, but I only saw Christmas and Valentine's Day listed. I don't think they're doing Halloween.
Wait,
it feels off brand.
What's a Halloween Hallmark movie? like,
it's probably a Disney Channel original movie. like it's not scary. It is. Maybe it's. I
see a pumpkin patch.
Yeah, like a down on his luck farmer. He can't scare the kids. He just wants to give them free everything. Apple cider donuts become really important.
I love a good apple cider donut.
Yeah, and I think everything else is kind of the same.
It's
It's
just
still a city girl who goes back to her small town.
getting away from
But
it
instead
all.
of covering the Christmas festival, they're covering the
Haunted
best
house.
pumpkin pie or haunted house, the best haunted hayride, and because it's a Hallmark movie, the best pumpkin everything. Like the biggest
So true.
pumpkin.
Oh yeah, the biggest pumpkin.
And
That's
then
what it
and then
is.
also why not just do a pie contest while we're in it? And I'm sure someone's aware of what berries are seasonally good in autumn in the Midwest, most likely. So yeah, I think just like generally speaking, it's the exact same formula. It's just
Halloween.
they don't need to worry about the fake snow. It's still going to be filmed probably in Canada in July, but like now they just have to worry about getting some pumpkins in.
That's so true. I think we should make a Halloween Hallmark movie. Add it to the list.
I genuinely think it would be, we could probably actually make it like
Yeah.
easily enough.
Because
So this is actually a great pivot point into some of the research I did because I
yes.
do think it's really, I think what's most fascinating about it is how it is kind of a machine in the way that like Law and Order, like Dick Wolf has created this machine of like Law and Order TV shows where like there's a certain formula and you just kind of plug and chug, but there is, at least for people who are like seated for it, there's so many things that like we keep coming back for. But arguably, there's a formula. Any procedural is going to have one. But if we're thinking about, let's say, like Law and Order SVU, there's a pretty specific formula. There's a sex crime of some nature. There is a special victim involved. There is a done done. And
Heavy on the
Mariska
dun
Hargitay
dun.
all of our asses heavy on the done done in the criminal justice system. Like that, like if you're a Law and Order bitch, if you're an SVU bitch, we are all chanting in unison. But yeah, it's kind of that same energy of like it's been being done for so long that at this point it's like a very predictable machine in terms of like they have a formula, they're sticking to it. But what I found really interesting, again, in my research that happened this morning,
Mine was this afternoon after my lunch break.
classic. Just like, so it launched in the late 2000s, so like 2001 I think was technically when the channel launched, but they were making a couple movies in like 2000. So I don't know exactly what was going on there. But yeah, so basically Hallmark came on kind of out the gate running with the like made for TV movie vibe, but it also had like some film series and then like Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, which was originally the Hallmark Movie Channel, was like a sister channel of it that came out in like 2004. Generally though, like people lock in for Christmas. I think everyone thinks of Hallmark and then thinks of Christmas movies
I
because
didn't
like
know
the
they
countdown to
did.
Christmas.
I didn't know they did Valentine's Day.
I only learned this very recently. And I didn't copy over the notes, so I didn't care that much. But overall, there's a certain predictability to it, but like it's also they can do so many because they have really low budgets and just like the goal is to have high quantity. So essentially the general model is like high quantity, low budgets, almost always under $1 million. And like very fast paced. So pre-production's like maybe a month. Actually shooting is like 2 to 3 weeks. They're not doing a bunch of reshoots. They're like not going overtime on days because a lot of the times these are projects that don't have union workers. And that's also part of how like they keep the budgets so low is like they don't have to pay union rates. A lot of them are filmed in Canada. So like from what there was this one article I was reading that like talked to some of the people who were working on crews for these movies, and I think it was initially like made, or like the article was initially posted in like 2020, so I don't know how current the information is, but basically like they were like, yeah, like it's not paying the union rate, so it's like a couple hundred less per day for different types of roles, but because it's also like such a small amount of time, like it's so compressed, a lot of the crew is just like hopping from one to another. Like it seemed like in terms of like behind the scenes they're like 15 to 20 person crews generally. And like the director, like the big kind of director producer, like those bigger parts of like the actual project are maybe switching between, but a lot of the actual crew in terms of like who's holding your mic, who's your gaffer, like who are the people kind of doing the like legwork of being on a film crew are just the same people bopping around between these. Um, so it's very like machine, like it's very.
Yeah.
It also seems like people know if you want to get a Hallmark movie made, you don't take any risks. Like you very much do just plug and chug into the formula, which I think is also why they all look the same.
I mean, I think it's very interesting how like quickly they can mass produce them in a way, and it honestly
Yeah.
it feels kind of like so the opposite of Christmas vibe in a way, because if you think about it, like the machine of it all, you're just chugging along, you're producing these, you're not really, if you're making that many in such a short amount of time and there's so much turnover, I feel like it loses that kind of spark in a way, which is like I think fundamentally what Christmas is about in a way. So I find
The
that
whimsy.
so weird that like they're just pushing these out as fast as possible. But you are right. They are following a formula, and that formula
Yeah.
hasn't been broken since recently.
Yeah, and even then, it hasn't been broken by much. And also, I misspoke. It's like 25 to 30-ish for the cruise. 15 is like that's like literally what my student film was. Like
Yeah.
that's low. But 25 is still like definitely like those are indie numbers, maybe even smaller. And so I was looking again, very quick search. The current like average for Hallmark movies made annually, like per year, is I think between 80 and 100 right now.
That's crazy.
It's insane. That is so much like rapid production. And when you think about the fact that they've been making movies at this point for about like 25-ish years, like that's a quarter century of the same type of energy. But when I was like looking through the different movies, I was very curious. I noticed this trend of like in the beginning, some of the like 2000, like 2004 movies that they were making. I was noticing a lot of like actually big names, and I don't know if it was that at the time they were all kind of in various stages of either up and coming or like were considered past their prime, or if it was just like quick work. But huge names were like on the like different films I was watching. So like just some that I'm like, oh shit, these people are like massive now. Jean Smart, love that woman. Martin Short, Bradley Cooper, Shailene Woodley, Betty White, Patrick Swayze, like a bunch of other people, like even more that other people consider important and relevant that I just don't. But like a lot of people who are like Jean Smart's a fucking icon.
Yeah.
And I maybe in those years, like she wasn't in like her prime and things like that, but just a lot of these are pretty big names, and like yes, they have careers in TV, but also like have. I mean, I know Shailene Woodley at the time, like she was young. Bradley Cooper hadn't yet kind of blown up and things like that. So some of these things do track, but like some of them, I'm just like, it's so fascinating to see how many like actors have done Hallmark movies. Because especially now, like what I was also reading was like there's a lot of actors that are like recurring Hallmark movies, like
There's a Hallmark stars.
low key. And I like just quickly pulled numbers and like I don't even know how to pronounce her name, but she was Gretchen in Mean Girls. I think it's Lacey Chabert. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't go here, guys. She was in 32 Hallmark movies, which is insane.
I would lose my mind, respectfully, doing the same kind of movie over and over again. I would, unless that check is so good, I'm losing it. I'm gonna lose it.
It's one of those. From the vibes I'm getting is it's like it's quick money, but I think for the actors it's like it's easy money. Like if you're not trying to like
To win an
hone
Oscar.
your craft, you kind of just want to have a consistent enough paycheck. Like if you're doing 32 of these motherfuckers, you don't need to worry about their name, their backstory, nothing. You just say the lines, which are probably very similar to the lines you already said before. And you kind of just go from there. Like it's really not. It's very much not a lot of time because even the editing is very quick turnaround.
Yeah.
And there's just something about it where it's good bad, it's bad good. It's usually that overlap. Um, but yeah, I feel like even in terms of them straying from the formula, like they've had a couple like now like I think they have specifically had like female like queerness, so like a little bit of woman loving woman storylines and things.
Yeah. So
But
that was like what I researched. I did a lot of like when you saw the diversity change in Hallmark movies, because
yeah,
when I picture of Hallmark movie, unfortunately, it is two white people
it's
in
vastly white.
a small, well, like two white people are the main characters, the love interest. They're in a predominantly white town, small town. Basically, it's where the setting is. So for my quick Google search, so in the article where in the beginning of the episode when I said that it's a pretty simple formula, you know, it's a sprinkle of family trauma, that was published in 2022. And at that time, there was 31 new films of Hallmark movies. 6 feature ethnic racial minority leads. 1 depicted a Jewish storyline, and 1 starred a leading gay couple. So a grand total of 8 out of the 33.
Yeah. And that year seemed like a pretty good one for Hallmark because specifically the Jewish one, I think it's called Round and Round. But I was like looking at things and interspersed between the like memes when I just like looked on TikTok Hallmark movie. Like I wanted to kind of see what the like vibes were. A lot of memeing, which was hilarious. A lot of like mocking. Again, excellent work in terms of parodying. But I actually saw a few different people who were like, "Why does this movie actually like fuck? Like, why is this movie like actually like
Kinda
good and compelling?" And it seems, from what I gathered, it's like a time loop story, and apparently has like very good dialogue and things like that. So
Love that.
I'm like, wow, good on them. Yeah, I'm very curious to see. I'm not going to do the research, but I would be curious to see like what sort of shifts occurred. And I think I might kind of know because there's this one other person. She's from Full House and Fuller House. She played DJ. So Candace Cameron Bure, I don't know. She's been in 29 Hallmark movies. She's done a shit ton too. But it seemed like at one point, kind of in the like, I think 2021-ish, like onward, there was this like, because I think I don't think it's unfair to say that Hallmark movies are catering to a very specific demographic, which is primarily like Midwestern Christians, generally very white women. I think that's pretty much like, if there were to be 4 descriptors of who are Hallmark movies made with like this fill in the blank of who's in mind, it's like they're Midwestern Christian, probably woman, very white, that kind of vibe. But there was this. God, okay, let me look up the name. It's basically. No, sorry, it should have. Movies. I should have wrote this part down. I knew I was gonna eventually talk about it.
It's all good.
Like the Great American Family, like network, I think, like sort of split off, and some of the people at Hallmark kind of transferred over to there, including this Candace person. I think she was like named their like head of content creation or something, and started in a lot of the movies and things. But like it was formed by like someone who was at the Hallmark Channel and was like one of the executives there. And basically seems like they wanted to kind of put a stronger emphasis on like faith and family oriented, kind of kid oriented like things. But then also is like an alternate to and kind of is in direct competition with Hallmark, because Hallmark is also very much it is there to entertain you, to make you feel good. It's not trying to make you, think. It's very much like prescribing to the formula. Yeah, so I think that that's also kind of interesting. Is I wonder if some of that like overlap maybe allowed Hallmark to get a little more diverse, because
I also, in my research, if I'm remembering correctly, around that time the CEO changed. of Hallmark too. So when all those people split around that time, if I remember correctly, because I was in my research, they were talking about a change of CEOs, and where when the CEO changed of Hallmark, they saw an increase of a diversity of the cast and the stories that they were telling. Because I find it interesting, especially in 2020, The Christmas House was a Hallmark movie, and it was the first time a same-sex couple was the leading love interest in 2020. So I find that it's like, it's not that long ago.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, not at all. Like, that's, yeah.
And then it's just kind of jumping back more, I saw another article in 2017, there was 87 original movies Hallmark made, and yet not one of them was a person of color, the love interests. Not a single one.
Yeah.
And this author that I was reading, who wrote this small piece about it, it was like she was a person of color who loves Hallmark movies, and she felt like a little conflicted because, like, oh, she loves these stories, it makes her feel good, but then again, she's not seeing herself on the screen. And it was almost, she was saying, depicting a way that people of color were not deserving of the freedom and, as she said, to frolic and chase their dreams that Hallmark movies kind of represent in a way, because, like, Hallmark movies are that feel-good stories where, you know, you find love in this simplest way. So, like, if you don't see yourself in the stories that they're showing, then maybe you start realizing maybe that's not destined for me. And I think that is one of the biggest problems I have with Hallmark movies, and it's why I wanted to talk about it, because I think it needs to be talked about more, that it's important to see yourself in these characters. And if you don't see yourself in these characters, how can you relate to the story and the movie they're trying to sell?
Yeah. And heavy on the frolicking. I think that's actually a really valid point. And I think, like, there's so many types of discourse to be had. Heavy on the frolicking, because I think for me, I often see an overlap between, I think there's a few layers of a, like, issue here, because on the one hand, it's like, who gets to tell these stories? Who then gets to be the vehicle of these stories? Like, whose bodies are we sort of painting this onto? And I think very often, especially when it's not, like, for example, like, if you want to talk about, like, racism in America and you're not Black, I find it very, very rare, if ever, that, like, a white person or a non-Black person who decides to say, this is going to be a story about race and racism, decides to go the joyful route and decides to be able to show, like, any kind of whimsy. They always go into the trauma. And I think I have a lot of complicated feelings here, because I think one of the biggest mistakes consistently throughout history is that we repeat the same exact mistakes because we never do the work of, like, actually recognizing where things went wrong and, like, what specific cycles need to be broken. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of white folks go about it in the worst way. Like, they're like, okay, I'm gonna be woke. And then they completely miss the fucking point and don't tell a story that actually reaches any of the people that they were trying to, like, relate to, because they can't, or because they don't actually talk to people who live a Black life in America, you know?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of layers of issues, but a big one, I think, is that, like, all of the best, like, when I think about, like, some of the best pieces of storytelling where I'm like, this is, like, Black story, like, Black excellence in TV or in a movie or what have you, it is always coming from Black creators. It is the Issa Raes. It's the Ryan Cooglers. It's, like, it's always people who, like, want to tell an interesting story and happen to be Black. And while, like, a Black Panther is centered on Blackness, that's, like, a core fundamental element, that's not always, like, it doesn't have to be the only thing you're trying to do, but when that is your lived experience, it is so much easier to speak authentically. So that's kind of beside my core point, which is that Hallmark is going to the very same people, listening to the very same types of formulas, and very clearly wants to appease the same exact audience with all of these different movies. So there's going to be like a hegemony. Like there's going to consistently be a very specific story that they tell because I think if you were to do like a demographic survey of who is making these movies, it's almost always probably going to be white folks. And they're not trying to do anything like thought-provoking or nuanced. Like this is not a place. They're trying to frolic. And I think white people do not know how to show people who don't look like them frolicking or correctly even. Like, so I think there's this like element of this isn't a place that's trying to like intellectually challenge you. And white folks don't often know how to tell any kind of story that's not centered on, like, if they're going to talk about something and acknowledge their whiteness, they don't know how to do it in a way I think that's usually like joyful.
And I find that kind of disheartening in a way because I feel like Hallmark, it could be and like you said, Hallmark isn't trying to like provoke any like emotional intelligence growth for its viewers. It is pretty much like following a formula like we've stated and trying to invoke that feel good feeling. But like, could you imagine if it actually did that? Like it has the potential. It has the audience, the viewership. If you showed, you know, characters falling in love that don't look like its viewers and show it normalized, it would make such a huge difference in how easily it could like people start realizing like, hey, these people might not look like me, but they love how they love, and it's unfortunate like they're just not doing that. They're just pushing out these movies that show white families falling in love, and that's it.
There's going to be a slice of DiGiorno pizza that features very shortly.
Not sponsored.
That's the thing. Yeah, DiGiorno, please. We're looking to get past 15 viewers so soon, and when we do, I will ride for your stuffed crust. I actually would. I'm actually being so dead ass. I'm going to take this moment to have it aside. DiGiorno does hit different.
No, I'm not making fun of you. I agree.
No. I know you agree, but I think someone out there is going to be like, what do you mean? Let me talk. Because I'm not saying, listen, okay, I got way too passionate about this, and literally no one asked, no one presented a counterpoint, and I came in with my hands up. Like,
you were ready to fight someone that wasn't there.
Let me resend you real quick, because the way you had to, like, put a warning down where you were like, I agree, before I even started means something in my eyes changed. All in all, I think DiGiorno means it when they say that they're built different. And when they say it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno, speak on it.
You felt that
because
right
you know
here.
What? I really felt that in my bones, bitch. I agree. And, like, I hadn't had a DiGiorno pizza in a minute because, you know, in this economy, listen, I'm a fucking social worker, okay? I am not rolling in it. So at the end of the day, I'm going to get the off-brand pizza at Wegmans or at whatever store I'm at, because if I'm buying a frozen pizza, that shit is designed to be quick and easy, okay? I'm not looking for something nutritious. I'm just looking for something to hit that spot.
If
okay?
I'm buying a frozen pizza, my life is not together.
Period. Speak on that. When I said I need to buy a frozen pizza, you know I'm not at my peak. When I'm like, damn, I need to have 5 frozen pizzas in my freezer, you know that means times are hard. Things are not going the best that they could.
Life is not a Hallmark movie right now. We're struggling with pizza.
I am the one they are not representing in those moments, okay?
Give me a depressed bitch eating a DiGiorno pizza in a Hallmark movie. That's what I want to see.
This is, I think, a great Media Mayhem moment because the brain cell ricocheted around, but it came back like a boomerang. Because that's the thing, right? You can continue the formula and just give us different bodies. Like, that is the thing that I think a lot of, specifically these kinds of creators who make these things, and I think also the executives, like the people who are making these movies, don't seem to understand is like, joy is a universal human experience. Any motherfucker can and could and probably wants to frolic. Let bitches frolic.
Amen, brother. Let bitches frolic. Put that on a sticker.
Like, I am telling you right now, your city executive could just as believably be a black woman. Your farmer could just as easily be a black man. You can make it, you can keep it straight. You know what? Like, at the end of the day, like, this is a formulaic thing. You can pick one. You don't have to do every single thing. You can pick your interracial couple in one movie. You can pick your queers in another movie.
They don't.
I would love to see. It would be really cool to see a queer black woman.
I'm not
I'd
saying
lose my mind over a non-binary. Like, do what you need to do, but it is so easy. It is so incredibly easy, and while we're at it, the market is there.
It's there.
Because that's the other thing. You release 80 to 100 movies in a calendar year. Your highest broadcasting numbers, bitch, I looked that shit up. That is 5.8 million, okay? And granted, that's not a small number, but that's not the biggest number there ever was, okay? If you decided to release within that lineup 1 to 5 movies that are like pushing the envelope simply because you are casting not white people only, I'm telling you, you could simply drop a singular 30-second TV spot on your own channel and the buzz would get around, okay? Like, you wouldn't need to do that much. You could have all of the same parts of your formula. You'd simply be casting, most likely, a black Canadian person instead of a white Canadian person. And I'm telling you, you would have an audience who's seated and interested, because the thing about Hallmark movies is also that it's created a brand. Like, the fact that it has this high, it's almost a, I'm not going to go into that. That's so many points. But anyways, like, the brand, we all know what to expect out of a Hallmark movie. We all accept that it's going to be low budget. We accept that there's going to be very easy to spot editing mistakes. We accept that it's not going to be a good script. That most of these lines will be cringy at best. Those are all things we take as a given. Like, they've been doing this for 25 years. They have earned our goodwill for the bullshit things we normally like to rip movies apart for. And I'm saying we as a universal because when anybody said, man, I don't want to think, I just want to like experience a holiday movie and feel a little bit of whimsy that's manufactured. I don't want to be thinking about any realistic decision making. Everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to watch a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, because like nothing makes sense like in any decision these characters make. Like, there's no thought, there's just feeling, and sometimes we just want to feel. Everyone wants to feel. Everyone wants to feel joy. Everyone wants to feel like they can frolic in a Christmas tree farm.
Yeah. Let a bitch frolic. We all, at the end of the day, Hallmark, I think now more than ever, people are wanting vibes to be good. Okay? Hallmark movies are like a cornerstone of like, no one here is actually thinking. They're just vibing. Because I'm sorry. There is no fucking way a financial executive would just decide to give up many, many dollars, like at least 6-figure salaries. If you are a financial executive in like New York City or some unnamed city, that means
always an unnamed city.
It's always whatever, they probably just say the big city so that whoever is watching can fill in the blank for whatever that means for them. You know?
Yeah.
And there's enough like non-specific details that are things that kind of exist across cities, like, oh, I took the subway. That could be literally so many places.
So many places.
So yeah, like they give you just generic, non-specific enough things that like, it can be universal. But therein lies the thing. Like, I think I lost the point a few different times here, but all in all, realism doesn't exist here. Realistic decision making does not exist here.
I'll circle you back. You were talking about the executive that lives in New York City would never blank.
Yeah, would fucking never. You want me to believe they give up their money, they give up their title, they are career-driven people until they see a Christmas tree and a bearded flannel guy and say, wow, he wasn't meaningful at all. I'm telling you right now, maybe no. No.
I think
unless he had the money. The ones where it's like he's secretly a prince, those ones I almost believe more. Because then I'm like, okay, that means he has money. And at that point, like, if it was a secret, she probably already loved him. So there you go. Like, I'm not trying to be that bitch who's like vapid, but at the same time, I just popped off about a DiGiorno pizza. Like, we do stay thinking about these things when we're like...
I think that's the beauty of Hallmark, you know? I think we shit on these movies, but we also like them in a way because they are funny. They are memeable. Yeah. They are, like, especially our generation. We'll take a Hallmark movie and freaking run with it. Like, what do you mean you went to this small town to find, like, your great-grandmother's fudge recipe to win a contest? Like, what are we doing?
Speak on it. Yeah, like, what are we doing?
It's funny, though, because, like, it's interesting, like, when you look at these very predictable Hallmark tropes, and I kind of see a little bit of your notes, and put it in a different setting, or, like, a book, or, like, a fan fiction. I'll eat that shit up. Give me a Hallmark movie, but with a fan fiction, like, characters I love. I'll watch it more than the movies.
My note, well, one of the notes I think you might be referring to is the fact that I said this is like the dime store, like the dime. Yeah, there's a phrase I'm trying to say. The romance novels that are like, anyways, fuck, cut that part.
Absolutely.
This
not.
Is like,
if I'm keeping the pop off of the pizza, I'm keeping that.
I think I'm really living up to the mayhem part in this episode, and I'm okay with that.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think this is kind of fan fiction that's acceptable for, like, the white woman in the Midwest. Like, they can't talk to Sherry at church on Sunday about the smut they were reading. They couldn't talk to her about 50 Shades of Grey, even if they did read it. But in those church walls, they can talk about Hallmark. And they can say how cutesy-tootsy it was, and oh, did you catch the new one last night? I don't know. I don't know what these people do in their life. But they can. And where people like you and I are shameless, and we will, you would, like, once you find that bitch, if you're okay, for example, I went to Vancouver this past weekend with a couple different friends, and, like, there was a table, and 6 of us were at the table. 5 of us. Oh, my God. 5 people were at the table, right?
5 people.
2 of them, 5. Okay. 2 of them did not read fan fiction. Myself and the other 2 did. And there was a moment, because it was like, we were all friends there. One of them got us friendship bracelets. It was a very lovely, like, wholesome time. We frolicked. Okay? It was a great time. It would have been a Hallmark movie if they made gay ones. But there was a point where those of us who read fanfic, my one friend said, oh, what have you been reading lately? Like, open up your AO3. And so I was like, first of all, no. Like, you don't see my history. You can see how many tabs I have open. And I was like, do you read yours in incognito too? Like, there was, like, a shared language we could lean on. But they were like, oh, show me what you're reading. And me and the other person said, absolutely not. Like, no. And then they were like, at least tell me your tags. And I was like, again.
And God.
Like, there's an understanding where, like, you can talk about it in semi-public spaces. But, like, most of us have some decorum. When you're closer, you and I be sending them back and forth. Holy shit. Literally, when we were talking about, like, oh, we should do the Hallmark episode, I think we then pivoted to our favorite fanfics that fall into the exact same tropes.
Those tropes. and that's the beauty of a Hallmark episode, and that's why the appeal is there, is those tropes. They put those claws into their tropes and don't let go and hold on. And
yeah,
I do feel like those tropes in Hallmark movies, and, you know, this is kind of pivoting to something else, those, like, fast romance books that you see that get popular, it's the same formula. And I'm not knocking the formula. Clearly, if it ain't broken, why fix it, in a way? Like,
they said, we're not fixing it.
They'd be doing something correct, because they're making 85 of them every fucking year.
Real.
But like sometimes it's nice when the formula gets like tweaked a little bit and you see what happens and something beautiful can happen.
I do think that that's like one of the fundamental things a lot of people don't get. Like, we love a trope. I'm a slut for a good trope, but like, I love when you do something interesting with it. Like, you don't have to intellectually challenge me. I'm coming in part because I want to know what to expect. Like, if you said, okay, it's going to be enemies to lovers, and then you don't give me that, I'd be like, why? Okay? But if you do that and do something like interesting that makes it stand out in some way, or like add some kind of element that's unique, I'm going to remember it. Like, it's not going to be one of the many I read in a fugue state. It will be one that I'm like, oh yes, I'm going to bookmark it. Like there is something to be said about like falling onto a familiarity of formula and doing something interesting. Even if, again, it's a Hallmark channel, like, they are the brand maker for this. We're not asking for them to intellectually stimulate us. We're just asking for them to, like, show us. Like, it's really that simple. Like, you can do everything else the same, but just with us, please. Like, I don't think anyone, I think they have enough. Like, you know what? You want to make sure that the Midwestern, like, Christian white folk don't feel like they're getting drowned out. Do a rerun of all the other movies you already made for them before you do the one that's for the rest of them.
It's there. There's a category.
You have an abundance.
There's
the fundamental the basics of your design, like your model is quantity. You have an abundance. Like, you don't have a lack of content. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's not even taking a risk. It's quite literally just doing your same formula slightly differently, and you will get praised. I think that's something that, like, I'm not to like make it about AI, but also I think there is something about, like, we have so much access, and like, I mean, this is sort of with the like caveat of specifically people like in America. Let's just keep it localized to that. We have so much access to so much information. And for some reason, we still said, no, actually, I need it easier. I need it even more convenient. I need to not think. This sort of urge to just not do any kind of critical thinking or like in any way be challenged intellectually or like have to do any of the work has kind of like permeated so many aspects of our society. And like when you see how much like AI is being used and how much ChatGPT gets used, especially by like younger folks and things, like we've lost the plot a little bit in terms of like the thing that made the formula where you don't have to think beautiful was that it's not the norm. Like you are expected to think in other spaces. So it's like, okay, for this 2-hour bit, we're going to just be silly and turn off our higher cognitive thinking and it'll be fun. But somewhere that became so expected and normalized that people just lost the, like, it shouldn't always be that way. Like, there is a beauty in being challenged or having to think or having to, like, have critical thinking skills. Like, there's a beauty in those things. And I think that, like, ironically, the formula, it hasn't even changed that much. And still, people have, like, I don't know if it's ironic, actually. But just overall, I think that people perhaps lost the, like, the plot on it's beautiful because with this formula, you know what to expect. And that shouldn't be every single thing. And, like, if every, like, it's kind of I think what I'm trying to say is, like, Hallmark and the whimsy and like the magic of what they do becomes meaningless if every single thing doesn't challenge you. If every single thing is unrealistic, the exact same thing being done over and over and over again. And I do think there could be something like genuinely provocative if Hallmark were to like reclaim their brand and give us that formulaic bullshit, but like do something interesting and like, I don't know, do it with a black queer couple instead.
I do have to say, I have to give it to Hallmark in a way because, like, it is quite impressive how they can tell the story of Christmas in like 25 different ways, but still have like,
Oh yeah.
like, I mean, at its core, it's like the people are finding the love of Christmas again. Like that's like the end goal. It's like how they got to the end point changes a little bit, but they do be telling a lot of different stories, and that's quite impressive.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I feel like there could be I could have a lot more respect for it if, I don't know, I guess there was like a little bit more shits given. I don't know, maybe if the scripts were slightly better. Because I will say, like,
sometimes I'd be cringing and I have to walk away. I got secondhand embarrassment. I can't be dealing with those stupid ass white people.
Yeah, I think that's why we're both not really Hallmark people, because like sometimes it's so bad it's good. Sometimes it's just
bad.
So bad. And like I can't handle too much secondhand embarrassment. Like there's like shows that I love where like if there's an episode where they lean a little too much on that, because there's like it's certain brand of humor where I think like people do things that are really fucking cringy and like it's supposed to make you like laugh, and I just cringe. Like I don't find the humor. I just like need to be. I dissociate out of my body if I can't physically leave. Like, that's what happens somewhere for me. Else. Yeah, like it's not making me go tee-hee. It's making me go boo, like I've Winnie the Pooh'd out of my body. You know that specific. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
So. I feel like if they just gave like slightly more shits, I could appreciate these other things. Because, wow. How many Christmas Farm stories could I possibly be seated for? They have asked and answered that question at least twice every single year for 25 years. Like, I gotta give them some props. But except I also kind of don't want to.
Yeah, that's actually kind of fast. Because, like, they're not doing anything different. That's the thing. Like, that's what we want to see, is we want to see them do something different with characters that are just love like us, look like us, you know. That would be incredible to see. Like, give me that Christmas story. Yeah. And I think we're... And it's so unfortunate we're talking about this in 2025. I feel like this should be kind of... better.
Yeah, we should have figured it out by now.
People should have gotten their shit together and they didn't. And we're still having these conversations. I mean, and it gets, some people say like, I don't know what story. Someone was bitching online about like, oh, you know, they don't have to be queer. They don't have to be like, you don't always have to look for the queer love story in it. But then I sit there and think like, okay, then they didn't have to be straight. They could have been something else. Like, those people, if you love that way, you've said it, have so much content to fall back on. You have years and years of seeing TV and movies and relationships on those screens that love like you. And that's incredible. I'm so happy for you that you have that representation. Yeah. But over the turn of the century, we are only starting to get those stories, and it's finding them through the weeds of all the straight stories. Like every like 10 straight stories, there's like 1.5 for us.
Yeah. Heavy on the half, because that's the other thing. To the person who said you don't have to find queer, fuck off. You literally do. We literally do. Queerness, especially when it comes to media representation, has almost always been in the subtext. Oh, you're so cute. You said, I'm going to cover my mouth. I'm out here shoving a stuffed crust pizza just like above my microphone. I have no care if you're hearing me chewing, and I apologize. But you're so sweet. Oh, don't choke, please. But yeah, I'm going to keep going.
Keep going.
These motherfuckers have no clue. We have always had to look. We've always had to read between the lines, because for such a long time, that was the only place queerness could exist. It was in costuming decisions. It was in the things that they couldn't say because of the way that censorship and heteronormativity has always been the norm. And I think I just burped on the mic. Whoops. This is not going to be my finest episode.
Listen, sometimes it be like that. Sometimes we be a mess, and sometimes I think it's a both and situation. We can be intellectual and a mess.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. You see me. But no, genuinely, like, in addition to the ways that queerness has had to exist, we also, like, so many things have happened within, even if we're just looking at like 2000 to 2025. We've had like so many more things that could be overtly queer. But also, if you look at the data, and honestly, we'll probably have a whole episode where we do, it's always this kind of bubble. And where straight people are almost always going to get most of the stories that are catered to them, and they don't have to think about it. We do not have that luxury. We get to have little pockets of time where things are good for us. We'll get one really amazing season of queer television, and they will either kill the queer people or cancel the show. Like, we have consistent data to show that when there are cultural shifts, there is a very clear ripple effect on our stories because we are the marginalized voices. And even when we do get representation, it is very rare we get the same amount of storytelling. Like, we don't get to have legacy stories in the way a lot of straight folks do because we get lucky if our show lasts 2 seasons nonetheless. What? Like, yeah. There's such a long history of, especially recently, like if we're even just looking between 2020 and 2025, there's a very consistent and troubling trend of if it's overtly queer, it's almost always canceled. And so queerness in subtext, often through queer baiting, is like one of the few places where we have been able to have our stories. And like, I think any person who really thinks you're just reading into it either does not understand like media literacy and really are one of the people that like just you've either never had to think too hard about what story is being told to you, or you've never had like someone close to you whose identity is marginalized in a way where like their representation is rare. Because I think any time like you watch a show and are able to sort of extrapolate some kind of universal story from it, even though the person doesn't look like you can kind of tap into an understanding of like this dialogue. Because if you're always the universal body and the universal voice, you don't question it. You just are. That's how it is. You don't think about the other side. But if you are looking for some kind of universal thing, and I think superheroes are another really great example of this, right? Where like, even if you're just looking at Marvel, when you look at the like trajectory of the MCU, for so long, the universal body was still a white straight guy. Like it's a white cis male. That's almost always been the case. And so when Marvel started to shift, like Black Panther was this cultural moment for a few different reasons. And honestly, I love what that movie did, but it didn't really break any of the formulas of the MCU. But it also felt so monumental because it did in the way that it gave us actually like Black bodies. Like it was a wish fulfillment for a demographic that had continuously been ignored.
I will always remember when that trailer first dropped, where I was watching that trailer for the first time, because that trailer was insane. Like the Black Panther trailer was crazy. The first and the second Black Panther trailers were like top notch. Like, oh my god, like this is happening. So like,
yeah,
it is nice to see those voices be heard.
Yeah, and I think it's like, I think maybe some like white folks understood that, but I think the fact that so many Black people were talking about it is when it really started to resonate with some people that like representation really, really, really matters for so many reasons, but there is so much power in seeing yourself. And even if, like, I think even, like, with Wednesday, for example, like, it's still technically, like, a white, you know, character and things. And, like, you know, being pale is part of the like characterization, but still it's Jenna Ortega. And like I think there's a lot of people who feel like having a Latino representation between her and Luis Guzman, like having this iconic character get to be played by a Latina woman and have it be so well received, like does make people feel represented, even though they're not changing every single thing about her lore. Like she's still very pale. She still has all these things that are like traditionally often associated with like the whiteness of XYZ, whatever. There's still power in that. Like there are still people who are thinking and seeing differently because they get to have someone who looks like them. There is so much power in just letting people see themselves be the hero or be the villain or just have these different types of stories be told. There's so much more I want to say, but I'm not even sure I'm making sense. So I guess all in all, let Black people frolic. Let people of color and queer people frolic. Not just white cis people frolic.
Yeah, I want to let also even like, I know we primarily talked about like people of color and queer people, but like,
yeah,
let people of like other religions have their moment in the spotlight and let us see those stories. Let us see how they celebrate the holidays. Because like, we are not, I mean, we as like people who celebrate Christmas, there are other holidays during this month that like get overshadowed, that don't like see the spotlight. So like, let everyone just see themselves on the screen to find love or you know, find that joy and frolic. I think it's very simple. I mean, we think it's simple.
Make another Hanukkah movie. Make a Kwanzaa movie. I mean, they probably never would, but like, make a movie about Ramadan. Like, there are so many things you can still kind of give the same formula. Because like, ultimately, underneath the Christmassiness of Hallmark movies, like the core storyline is like, person returns from the city to their rural hometown and falls back in love with the magic of that place. Because that's the thing. Like, part of what they do is they package Christmas as this communal experience, right? Like, that's why the bake sale or bake off is a life and death situation, right? Everyone cares so much. You know, like, their house might be in escrow, but they are at that cook-off, okay? Like, that's the energy. But it is like, I don't know, the Christmas market or what have you. Like, part of that is just communal. Like, part of that is just a community coming together to celebrate something with each other and putting in the effort to, like, show their love and care for one another through different, like, acts of service or activities or traditions. Traditions are ever present in all of human culture. Like, there are so, even if you want to, like, not overtly make things religious, well, you kind of have to when you're celebrating holidays, but still, like, there are so many things you could do that are in many ways the same formula, but just are telling different shades of that human experience. But I think, again, circling back to, like, people who have been catered to often resist any change to that because they see it as a perceived threat. Like, if you have always seen yourself as the universal body, someone else getting that experience may feel like a threat to you. That's a stupid ass take, but it might feel that way.
You're not wrong on the take.
And I think there's a lot of entitlement that comes with it because I think especially like when you look at this sort of, I think Hallmark is a very, like, it's a microcosm of it, right? But when for 20 years you've been used to getting, I'm sure it wasn't always 80 plus films, but when you've been used to getting a lot of movies and everybody looks like you, when you notice that change, I would hope you're like, oh, wow, this is cool. But I feel like a lot of them see it as, why does everything have to change? Damn.
Why does everything have to go woke?
Yeah. It becomes this, like, and I think there's, like, a lot of other elements of why that is the reaction that people are so often having. But, like, do think there's, like, this double-edged sword to always doing the same thing and never actually, like, showing different types of universal, like, because the universal part of it is the human experience and the connection and these things that they're doing that are like, you don't have to be white to find the magic of Christmas, you know? Like I think at the end of the day,
of a Hallmark movie, you don't have to be white and be straight to find the magic of Christmas. It's in everybody, regardless of
quite
the color
literally
of their skin.
Anyone could work at that Christmas tree farm, you know? And I mean, again, this isn't even going into like actually, like, we're not even talking about disability representation. We're not talking about, like, we're keeping this so basic. Like, this is so beyond not hard. These are not difficult asks. But yeah, I think that, like, there's the danger of the formula always having the exact same bodies is that anytime you start to push it and do something different and show other people getting to have this thing that is ultimately a universal human experience, that person who feels entitled to being the star gets threatened. And especially right now, culturally speaking, they're the ones who keep getting platformed. So it's this really, I mean, that in the end is the fucked up part of it, I guess.
There have been some strides, but the fact that we say some strides to positive growth, it's a slow moving ball, unfortunately, but
yeah, and I think, like, overall, like, that's the silver lining of it, right? Like, it is still moving, and I think, like, Arcane, like, is a really great example. Like, we get to have, that one was we got an end game. We got an end game, trust.
Ayo, we got an end game.
Ayo. But, like, it was character development and incredible characterizations that wasn't entirely dependent on it being queer.
Yeah.
And it was this beautiful balance of, like, good storytelling, good character development, and also great queer storytelling. One was they were interwoven, but, like, one wasn't solely about, it wasn't just the fact that they were queer, you know? Because that's the other thing, too. Like, a lot of our shit is not great. But we got, like, there's so rarely, like, Happiest Season was a Christmas movie that was technically gay, and we all were like, well, I didn't love it. I really wanted to. You must have seen it, didn't you? But, like, okay.
Is that the one with Kristen Stewart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like, by the end of it, I was like, I actually don't want you to end up with this person.
Yeah, that was the vibe, right? Like, you have someone so much better right there. What are we doing?
Aubrey Plaza is right there. But we all were, I couldn't, like, say that too loudly at the time, because anytime you have a negative take, when it comes to any kind of risk being taken with any marginalized group, I think we see it very easily with, like, queer stories, because there's just such a common trend lately of them getting canceled immediately. But, like, if we complain about it, use that as an example to be like, well, I guess we'll never do it again. You know? And it's like, no, just do it better.
Do it better.
Yeah, but, I mean, I guess we're clearly asking for too much.
Yeah, we're also trying to get, like, Hallmark to be more, like, not Hallmark, and that's not the appeal, I guess, of Hallmark movies.
Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, Hallmark, if you're watching this...
Can you imagine?
Could you imagine a Hallmark executive stumbles upon this? You don't need to change your formula. Just let a gay person frolic, too.
Just add a little bit of color to it. That's all we ask.
Whimsy does not exist in black and white. But we could use a little more black. Maybe that should be cut. That feels like maybe not great. I just think, yeah, the rainbow's not bad. It's not bad. It's good. Color's good. Color fits your brand.
Yeah. It's Christmas. There's a lot of color.
There are so many different groups who are not just straight white people who could fit into your plug and chug model. And while we're at it, actually, I'm not going to say that.
The self-censor, it was really good. That was good.
I stopped myself. and it's for the best. Yeah. I'll tell you when we're not recording.
Should we cut it there?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not doing it. But yeah,